Last week, we kicked off Christmas in July with a new series counting down 24 of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. And today we're back with another week to continue with this countdown. I'm having a lot of fun with these, so let's dive right in and get to it. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to the Magical Movie Club, where, like you, I love to watch and chat about Hallmark Christmas movies. Today I've chosen 3 more of my all-time favorites, and you know I discovered something special after I chose them. Without even realizing it, these 3 movies are all about how one random act of kindness can truly change someone's life, and maybe even your own. Are you ready? Let's continue where we left off last week. Number 21, A Christmas to Remember, starring Mira Sorvino and Cameron Matheson. This movie stars one of my favorite Hallmark actors, Cameron Matheson. As a matter of fact, he made it into 2 movies on my top 24 list. I've talked about this before, but for me, the best Hallmark Christmas movies are usually about the characters. Something might go catastrophically wrong early on that causes at least one of their lives to veer off in an unexpected direction, and that can be quite scary. This movie takes that quite literally. I'll explain how. We're introduced to Mira Sorvino's character first. She plays Jennifer, who's host of her own TV show called Homestyle. She's getting ready to tape her Christmas episode, and she's stressing out about every little detail. Like apparently she can't stand the color green, and whoever decorated the Christmas tree on that set used only green ornaments.
It's so green.
The tree?
And sad. Look at...
Anyway, she was also stressing out about the top she wore, the gingerbread Empire State Building, which was also a little odd, but also the turkey. The turkey actually came out beautifully according to her initial reaction, although I thought it looked a little undercooked. But then the person carrying it tripped and it splattered everywhere, including all over Jennifer's top. So guess what? The only backup top available was a green one.
It's the same shirt, just a different color.
But it's green.
As you can see, she was not having a good day. But I will say that for someone having as bad a day that she was, I appreciated the fact that she never lashed out at anyone or acted like a diva. So even when she asked for something to be changed, she wasn't rude or nasty about it, and she even still found something nice to say at the same time.
Okay, but good job with everything else.
Really good. Love it.
Yeah, really good. Okay.
That was a good indication of her true character, which will be important in just a little bit. After the taping of the show, which apparently turned out well,
I'm Jennifer Wade, and from all of us at Homestyle, we wish you a Christmas to remember.
her producer invites her to come to her own Christmas party that evening. And she insists that Jennifer bring Brad, her famous sportscaster boyfriend.
Tell me you are coming to my party tonight. Bring Brad.
Whom we can tell Jennifer's not thrilled about, but her producer wants them to be seen together for publicity's sake.
He's a very popular sportscaster, and being seen with him will build up your brand.
And her producer sort of bribes her by offering to let her spend the next week up at her gorgeous chalet near Aspen, Colorado, if she makes this appearance at her party.
Listen, I have the most gorgeous chalet near Aspen. Go there.
Next we see John. He's driving down a small town road up in the Colorado mountains. He pulls over to a house and carries a medical bag up to the door. It turns out his patient is a cat, and John is a small-town vet who makes house calls. He's also a widower with 3 young kids. And while we're getting to know a little bit more about the characters, we see Jennifer back at that party with Brad. It's obvious the 2 of them are together only for appearance's sake.
Just won't take too long for your career and my career. And we'd be unstoppable.
They seem to like each other just fine, but there's certainly no chemistry, and Jennifer knows it.
I feel like we're in the old country and this is an arranged marriage.
And speaking of arrangements, John goes out on a date that was also set up for him.
Do you want some?
I didn't.
You should try it. No, you should actually really
Honestly,
try it.
I'm not a
It's really good. Try.
I really don't
Come
like
on.
it. Okay.
And even he said when he was talking later to his friend Bob, yeah, it wasn't a good fit. You think?
Oh. Well, she force-fed me tofu. Ooh.
Now we're almost to the premise of this movie. In the next scene, Jennifer flew into Boulder, Colorado, and she was renting a car. Not an SUV that can handle rough weather conditions.
Yep, we got a nice 4-wheel drive SUV.
Ooh, do you have anything a little faster?
She was hoping to get there before dark. Well, that didn't happen, but it was also foreshadowing right there. While she's on the road, John gets a call to help someone whose mare was having a foal.
Thanks for coming down with the storm coming in.
How's she doing?
Not so good. It's a breach for sure.
The timing of these events is crucial to the story. After the foal is born, John and his son, whom he brought with him this time, head home in a developing storm. Meanwhile, Jennifer's driving in the dark in unfamiliar territory with limited visibility to that same storm. She's convinced she made a wrong turn somewhere, so rather than pull over to the side of the road to look at her GPS, she picks up her phone while she's driving. And that's when it happens. Her car skids off the side of the road, down a ditch, and she hits her head really hard. She's able to walk away from her car though, and she hobbles back up the road, but she's completely dazed from an obvious concussion. She's actually walking down the middle of the road when John and his son drive up. They see her only at the very last second, so he hits the brakes hard to avoid hitting her. Well, what does any good country vet do when he sees a woman in distress with blood on her head? He takes her home and calls the local doctor to get her checked out.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay. All right, you got quite a head laceration there. We should take care of that.
Now that's quite a meet cute, wouldn't you say? Obviously, with the storm, no one can get to his house for another day, but he was able to give her the necessary first aid and a warm bed to sleep on for the night while they figured out what to do next. Oh, and I forgot to mention the most important detail of all. Jennifer has no memory. As a matter of fact, she has no idea who she is or how she even got there.
I don't know my name. Oh my gosh, I don't know my name.
And since she was outside walking along the highway, she had no ID on her, no phone, and as of right now, they don't know if she has a car or where it might be. Actually, something else I thought that was really cute, since no one knew her name, John and his family came up with some ideas and she picked Maggie.
Carrie, Bethany, Maggie, Jenny.
Maggie? Maggie has a nice ring to it.
So that's what they all called her. I just love that. Well, the rest of the movie is a delightful story of how their lives were all impacted by Maggie staying with them over the next few days, while they continued to try to locate someone who knew who she was.
Listen, darling, you don't have to call me back right away, but do call me.
The kids adored her and they made her feel included in all their family traditions leading up to Christmas, which even though she couldn't quite remember, was exactly what she needed in her life.
You are a really, really good cook. I mean, you've got a serious knack for this.
I do?
Yeah.
And John didn't even realize just how lonely he had been since his wife died, and spending time with Jennifer, aka Maggie, gave him some brand new passion for life too. What was interesting to me in watching this transformation was that even though Jennifer/Maggie had no memory of her life before that accident, her true nature was still very much apparent throughout the whole movie. And occasionally a faint memory of her mother would break through, although she didn't quite understand what it was she was remembering.
I mean, was it a good memory?
Yes.
I know this is probably subjective, but I personally felt the chemistry grow between these two.
You can't possibly be the person that we have come to know here without really touching people.
And even though some events toward the end were somewhat predictable, kind of like what happened in the Pixar movie Cars, another one of my favorites,
I am looking for someone.
Paula.
the ending of this seemed genuine to me and I just loved it. If you have a chance to see this one, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Number 20, Right Before Christmas, starring Torrey DeVito and Chad Michael Murray. Right Before Christmas is a really special Christmas movie because it shows us how one simple act of kindness can have a snowball effect on so many other lives. Ah, see what I did there? There are a lot of different storylines going on in this one, and the first time I saw it, I was a little confused about who they all were, how they all tied together. It kind of bounces around quite a bit from story to story, so it wasn't until the very end that I had that oh moment, and I realized this was a very special story. The center of all this is Jessica. She's not exactly a hopeless romantic, but she really loves Christmas, And she's been dating a man for about 3 months now who, shall we say, doesn't share that same enthusiasm or passion for the holidays.
I was just photoshopping you, Wes.
Not that Christmas card thing again.
Well, I could Photoshop you out.
Can you?
It's one of those situations where you've got to wonder how these two ever went out on a second date, let alone stay together for 3 months. But that didn't stop Jessica from trying. You see, one morning about 2 weeks before Christmas, she stopped by her favorite little shop on the way to her music store. It was there that she found these really cute, unique 3D Christmas cards.
Wow, Joe. I've never seen these before.
She bought 5 of them with the intent to mail one a day to her boyfriend in the hopes that he would pick up a little bit of Christmas spirit.
But these are for the guy in the photos.
Unfortunately, her plans went awry when he broke up with her that evening.
I was gonna say, I think we should stop seeing each other.
What?
I think we've run our course.
One saving grace about this was she was not hopelessly in love with him, so while she was disappointed and rightfully irritated with him, she didn't spend too much time dwelling on it. She didn't sink into a deep depression or anything like that. But now she had to rethink what to do with those 5 Christmas cards she had just bought. And what she decides on doing was she sent one to each of her 5 favorite people in her life. Or better yet, she sent them to the 5 people who've had the most impact on her life.
Dearest, Lugnet.
It's a rather unique group, including her best friend who always tells her the truth whether she wants to hear it or not, her aunt who raised her after her parents died when she was a child, her younger brother who's away in the army, her favorite childhood music teacher, and this last one is also the weirdest one, the lead singer of her favorite boy band. She says his music helped her get through the loss of her parents. And you know, given how important music is to her now, she owns her own music store.
Morning, memes.
Sending a card to a boy band almost makes sense. Well, the first one to receive a card was her best friend, Mimi. She helps run the music store with her. She and her husband are very happily married, but they don't have any children.
Oh, yeah. And Merry Christmas.
Mimi says they've both agreed to wait another 3 years, but she's finding it's not only hard to wait that long, she's having a hard time being honest about this with her husband too.
Don't you think you should talk to John?
We agreed we'd wait.
The message in Jessica's Christmas card reminds her that she can always count on her to tell the truth.
Did you get me a card?
Maybe.
Her Aunt Lila was next to receive a card. She was out getting her mail when the card dropped out of the pile in her hand. And a very nice neighbor walking by with this adorable little dog stopped to pick it up for her, and they developed a wonderful connection from that moment, the details of which I won't completely give away. Luke is another character who, well, actually, he doesn't directly receive a card from Jessica.
You sent this to my mother.
Your mother is Mrs. Miller?
I usually just call her Mom.
But his mother is the music teacher who does, except she's out of the country. So while he's house sitting for his mom, he's also opening all of her mail, and he tells her all about the special card. The music teacher was so moved by this card that, in return, she gives Jessica her most valuable cello.
May I?
Please.
Is it your mother's?
One of her favorites.
Luke is the one who brings that prized cello to Jessica, and that's where their love story begins. Her brother Carter was next. He's away in the army, and he's shown an interest in another private named Angie, who's currently stationed with him.
Yeah, I'm making it worse.
Here's your alternators.
But he's been having a difficult time talking to her. It's when he picked up his mail, the day the card arrived, that she was also there, in line, hoping to receive some mail herself.
Hey, you again. You come here often?
This was the moment he finally had the courage to strike up a conversation with her, and another sweet love story began. As I mentioned before, Jack's was the most unique one of all because he and Jessica didn't even know each other.
And he has 50 million followers.
When did fans become followers?
Oh, let's see about the time that you split up the band.
His band hadn't even been together in years, and he was just working small gigs now, singing his old hits, which he had grown very tired of.
I'm not sure I want to get up there and sing that song again.
People love that song. You are that song, unless, of course, you want to write a new one.
When he opened up Jessica's card and read that special note she had written, it touched him in a way that he started making some changes in his own life that included reconnecting with the band.
I'll call the boys.
No. I'll do it.
Cheesy, yes, but still, I thought it worked. There are so many great moments all throughout this movie, like the references to Jessica's favorite Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, when George Bailey offers to throw a lasso around the moon.
You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Or Luke playing Santa at a group home for kids, and the fun way that he and Jessica played off one another as Santa and Mrs. Claus for them.
Right after I take Mrs. Kringle here back to the North Pole.
Oh, and speaking of which, I loved the nod to the Jessica, who became Mrs. Kris Kringle in the old Rankin and Bass animated Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Technically, her name is Mrs. Kringle.
And I suppose you know her first name, too.
Oh, I do. It's actually Jessica.
So yeah, this movie had to make it on my list. Number 19, Christmas Under the Stars, starring Autumn Reeser and Jesse Metcalfe. What I enjoyed most about Christmas Under the Stars was the connection these two main characters, Julie and Nick, had with another player in this one, Clem.
Merry Christmas, Clem. Here's to the best trees selling season yet.
A very special older widower who owned a Christmas tree lot called Startop Christmas Trees, and it was right smack dab in the middle of Chicago. He and his wife had opened the tree lot together years ago.
Where'd the name Startop come from?
Well, that was Gracie's idea.
But sadly, she's been gone now for 3 years, and he's been struggling to keep it going for a couple of reasons. One is his age is catching up with him, and he could use some help with the heavy lifting. But he also owns this prime real estate, and the city's been pressuring him to sell. He finally gave in to pressure and decided that this will be the tree lot's last year. Now, Julie is a single mom and a science teacher.
10 words or less. Too much turkey. Snow at your grandma's house.
I'm assuming middle school, but really her story is all about her father. She and her son lived with her father, and he was actually good friends with Clem. So by extension, she and her son have also gotten to know Clem over the years. Unfortunately, about 6 months ago, her father became very ill and he passed away, leaving behind some exorbitant medical bills. Now, Julie's been working diligently all this time to pay them off, but there's just this one that won't go away.
No, the original bills were paid by the insurance company.
She says they're double billing her, and their collection attempts are relentless. What she and Clem don't know is that they're both about to meet a man who will not only change their lives for the better, but they in turn will do the very same for him. For me, that's a formula for a beautiful Christmas story. So who is this man? Well, meet Nick. He's a brilliant, high-profile investment banker, just like his dad. He was even expecting a promotion to be a junior partner by the end of the year.
You've been at Eklund, Coleman, and Reynolds for 7 years?
That's right. And I'm due for a bump to junior partnership before the end of the year.
But on this one day, right after Thanksgiving, he had a harsh conversation with his boss about a bad investment deal he made for one of their biggest clients.
Most of those risks have paid off. Until recently.
And well, someone's head had to roll, so you can probably see this one coming.
I need you to turn in your security card and your keys. Clean out your office.
Yep, he was fired. This next scene, though, was really touching. Clem was setting up the Christmas tree lot, putting up canopies, hanging all the lights, when across the street he saw Nick walking by. Clem has this gift for reading people, and somehow he knew that Nick, passing by in his fancy suit and all, was in need of someone to talk to, if not even a job. So he called him over to ask Nick to help him with hanging the lights.
Hey! How tall are you?
While Clem was talking to Nick, that's when Julie and her son walked up.
Hi, Clem.
I was wondering when you two were going to show up.
She and Nick don't interact much quite yet, but this is only the beginning. It took a couple of attempts on Clem's part, but he was finally successful in talking Nick into sticking around to help.
If your offer to work here still stands, I'd like to take you up on it.
That was quite a change for Nick, and he was feeling really uncomfortable for a while, especially when his former boss showed up looking for a wreath.
Yeah. We need a, what is it? A wreath. Christmas wreath, you know, for a Christmas party. Can you do that?
And then there was his father, who was himself well respected in the finance industry, and while he pretty much never spent Christmases in the same city as his son, he did call periodically. Mostly, it was to find out if Nick had gotten that junior partnership position.
You're about junior partner? They haven't landed on anyone yet.
And for most of the movie, Nick kind of skirted around that topic with him as much as he could. Well, over the course of the movie, Nick and Julie end up spending more and more time together through their mutual friend Clem.
Oh, it's perfect.
Nick also develops a special bond with her son Matt, who's really missing his grandfather this Christmas time.
There you go. Keep it nice and level. Yeah, you're doing it.
But just when you think things are going really well between them, Julie finds out that Nick's former clients are the same types of companies who buy medical debt. You know, the kind that have been harassing Julie?
Well, have you ever heard of this company called Finler Co.?
Finler Co. was my biggest client.
Yeah, she overreacts to that news and blames him for being just like one of them. That was her momentary lapse in judgment, but fortunately she came around and realized Nick wasn't just like one of them. And I've said this before, but forgiveness can also be another important aspect of a really good Christmas movie, and Nick does just that.
I just thought that...
It was a good thought. I'm glad you called me.
I won't give away the ending, but not only do Julie and Nick have their happy ending, but the transformation in Nick's character and the impact that both Nick and Julie had on Clem's life was truly magical to me.
To Gracie.
Overall, it's a beautiful story. Well, that wraps up another week of our Christmas in July series. As always, thank you so much for being a part of the Magical Movie Club. If you like this too and want to see more, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, consider following us on Instagram at Magical Movie Club and on Twitter at Magical Movie Club with no U in club. You can find those links below in the description, as well as links to the previews for each of the movies covered in today's video. I appreciate your being here, and I look forward to next week's video, where we'll continue counting down our favorite Hallmark Christmas movies.
Come on, what about this guy right here? What do you think?
I think that's the one.
You think that's the one? You guys too? I'm cutting it down. I'm going in.